So in our boozy world, alcohol and celebration tend to go hand in hand. So how do you stay sober at weddings, summer parties and special events this summer? Well, I am mainly going to talk about being a wedding guest during this video, but to be honest, everything I have to say today is going to apply to all manner of events that you might have coming up over the next few weeks. So, I've got 5 tips for you, and here's my first one. Above all else, you have to decide that you are not going to drink before you go. Do not wait and see how you feel when you get there, or tell yourself that you're going to try to be good. Because when you do that, all that happens is that you go back and forth over whether or not to drink, and that is very tiring for your brain, so you do eventually give in. A maybe is nearly always a yes. And none of the other tips I have to share today are really going to help you if you don't have that firm decision to start with that you're not going to drink. Second tip, spend some time thinking about all the other events, parties, weddings, whatever it is that you've been to where you've drunk a lot and not had a good time, or something bad has happened. Because we are conditioned to see alcohol as fun in a bottle and the thing that makes everything special, we tend to keep playing those tapes in our head whilst very neatly overlooking all the other evidence that we have about how often alcohol backfires for us, or those times when we drank and something terrible happened, or perhaps those times when we drank and we still felt bored or awkward. You want to go into this knowing that drinking isn't the secret to having a great experience here. Drinking at a boring wedding just means that you are drunk at a boring wedding. My third tip is to anticipate being offered alcohol and plan how you're going to turn that down. Perhaps it comes from friends who expect you to be drinking like you normally would. You could rehearse how you're going to respond to that. You could say that you're driving, or you could just say that you're not drinking at the moment. It doesn't have to be a big deal. You could tell people that you're taking a break from alcohol because it's been affecting your sleep, or you can't handle the hangovers or the migraines. You'll be amazed how many people just accept that because it makes sense to them. When alcohol's been a big deal to you and it's something that you've spent a long time thinking about, you tend to assume that it's a big deal for everyone else too. But it often isn't. And listen, if someone does give you a hard time about this, it says more about them than you. I mean, if you were choosing not to smoke, would you let someone peer pressure you into having just one, or give you a hard time about it? No way, you wouldn't stand for that. My fourth tip is to watch out for your brain telling you stories. So your brain likes patterns and routines. It likes to do the same thing over and over again because that's easy and familiar and it doesn't take up much energy. It's also wired to be a bit negative, your brain. So watch out for it generating thoughts like, everyone else is drinking, I'm the only one who's not. Or everyone else is having such a good time because they're drinking. Unless you've carried out a comprehensive survey of all the wedding guests, you don't know what everyone else is drinking. That could be champagne in their glass, or it could be elderflower or an alcohol-free Prosecco. They all kind of look the same. And you have no idea what other people's experience of the event really is, because guess what? You haven't crawled inside their head to find out how they really feel. My final tip for you is to collect your data. You wouldn't trust a scientist who carries out one test on one person and then draws a conclusion from that, right? So in the same way, you can't go to one wedding and then come back and say, ugh, all sober weddings are terrible. You need to collect your data. Now, I know you might not be going to that many weddings this summer, but when you add in the other events, the parties, the barbecues, well, if you allow yourself to experience all those events sober, then you know what? You probably are going to have enough data to draw some conclusions. It's when you keep doing something that you start to realize, oh, actually, my enjoyment of this isn't really anything to do with what's in my glass. It's got a lot more to do with who else is there, the atmosphere, the music, how I feel in myself, how comfortable I am in my outfit, my shoes. All these little things matter and have nothing to do with alcohol. Now, there's so much more I could say on this subject, but I am going to turn it over to you now. What are your tips, your takeaways, or your aha moments from getting out there and being alcohol free? I'd love to hear what's working for you, and I hope you have the best time whatever you're up to this summer.